Before you ask, I will say, yes, we did miss one piece of Red Wings news, the signing of their newest goaltender in the system, Jussi Okiniora, and he's a guy that was brought over onto the squad. I unfortunately did not make a video about it because on the day of, we were kind of caught up in a few other things, which led to me not making the video, and now it's a little bit too late to talk about a Red Wings signing from a few days ago. And besides, I don't really think this is the biggest signing in the world, so at the same time, I don't really feel too comfortable taking up another video block for this smaller piece of news that happened a few days ago, and that isn't that huge. But either way, we have ourselves some other news that I wanted to talk about when it comes to the Red Wings. Actually, is it really even news? I don't really know if that's the right word to use, but either way, today we're talking about Filip Zadina. And I know, there are some pretty big conversations going around about Filip Zadina that had started as early as the beginning of this season. This is because everybody kind of knows the story of Zadina. The guy was a top pick, he was supposed to be a good young stud, he was supposed to help the Red Wings into the long-term future, but in 2021-2022, he was in a contract year. The last year on his RFA entry-level season, and now he needs some extra money before he can suit up for the Wings once again, although there are some questions as to whether or not the guy is even going to be re-signed, if he's going to be traded, if he's going to be offer-sheeted, if he's going to be whatever. Let's just go over the entire profile right here, the numbers, the points, and everything, before we explore why we're talking about Zadina in this video particularly. Zadina is 22 years old, he's 6 feet 196 as a left-handed forward, and he's a guy coming off a season where he had 24 points in 74 games played. This is pretty much the first full season Zadina has ever had as a member of the Red Wings. He has had seasons with 49 games played, but that was in the shortened 56-game campaign. This season, with 74 games, is the most he has played ever, pretty much. And the 24-point marker certainly is not in the territory as to where a lot of Wings fans thought Zadina would be by this time when he was drafted in 2018. The Wings drafted Zadina 6th overall in what was seen as a pretty big steal because the guy was projected to go top 3. If you took a time machine back to 2018 and you sat me down in my room and you said, "Hey, Gio, guess what? Filip Zadina, 6th overall pick, is only going to score 25 points in a full season in the year 2022, or 2022. I would have been like, what? Are you serious? The guy only had 10 goals in 74 games at the NHL level at 22 years old? This guy was almost a goal a game in the QMJHL. He was such a stud at the World Junior Tournament that season as well. He was a goal a game there. This is a goal scorer, an absolute sniper who can pin shots into corners like a laser beam. He was such a competent point producer. And you're telling me he's only going to get 10 goals in the season when he's 22 years old. That's crazy, man. And so, expectations versus reality has been a big part of the Zadina discourse over the years. Sure, is he a bad player to have on the team? No. I mean, he's a good defensive guy. He goes out there and he wins his board battles, etc. Now, the advanced numbers might not be the best in the world. We'll look at that as the video goes on. But if you go over to Frank Seravalli's recent trade targets list on dailyfaceoff.com, this is the same article that we highlighted when talking about Chicago's Alex DeBrincat and how he's pretty much on the trade block. It's a when, not if scenario. If you go over to the 19th name listed on Seravalli's trade targets list, it is indeed Filip Zadina. Let's read what the write-up has to say. Zadina, right wing, Detroit Red Wings, 22 years old, 75 games played, 24 points. He is a pending RFA, and he is not eligible for arbitration. Here's the scoop. There was no shortage of excitement around Zadina when the Red Wings selected him at number 6th overall in 2018. GM Steve Yzerman does not tip his hand, but the sense league-wide, so amongst other NHL teams and executives, is that a change of scenery is in order for Zadina. He's a gifted shooter, but the knock on him is that he's become more of a perimeter player, and only a select few players like Ovechkin and Stamkos can consistently score in today's NHL from the outside. The big question is whether Yzerman pulls back to see how Zadina might respond under a new coach. And so, this write-up is pretty much saying that amongst the NHL's external teams, there is somewhat of a growing belief that a change of scenery is what's going to happen next for Filip Zadina. It's just a question as to whether or not Steve Yzerman says, okay, change of scenery, we could do that, but I want to get this new coach on board. Let's get Barry Trotz in here. Let's get Lalonde in here, and we'll see what he is able to do with Filip Zadina and how they're able to grow this player. Because, of course, as a head coach, you kind of have to keep a checklist of all your players, and if somebody is not performing to their expectations, then you should be able to step in and interfere. Obviously, players like Raymond and Seider and Larkin probably don't need that treatment, but for Filip Zadina, you could definitely say he does. If we go over to the advanced analytics as well, I wanted to talk about some of these over here. If you sort the 2021-2022 Detroit Red Wings by Corsi for percentage, you can see that okay, there was only really one person that was positive in that respect, and that was Olli Juolevi, but, I mean, he was such an outlier. He only played 8 games anyway, so I don't really think he is the best example to use here. Filip Zadina was the 6th best Red Wing when it came to Corsi for, and amongst guys that played over 10 games, he was 4th. Now, sure, it's still a negative number, 47.23 is below the 50% threshold, but it's still one of the best on the team. You take a look at goals for per 60 minutes, and you see that Filip Zadina actually did not produce too well relative to his team. He was the 17th highest player on the squad when it comes to goals for per 60, but the interesting part is if you sort by expected goals for per 60 instead, Filip Zadina jumps up to 5th overall. When Zadina is on the ice, the team expects a lot more goals, but when it comes to actually scoring goals, they don't get it done. Now, I know you don't win hockey games by scoring expected goals, you win hockey games by scoring goals, and Zadina, unfortunately, has not been on the ice nearly enough to give that kind of a proper result, but there still is a lot more to be desired here, especially when you sort by Corsi as well. The guy is 3rd on his team in terms of regular Corsi for per 60. Now, for Corsi against per 60, this is kind of where things get a little bit bad because he is one of the worst players on the team when it comes to Corsi against per 60 minutes, but as we highlighted in terms of his overall Corsi number percentage, he is still one of the best on the team. His Corsi for was just so good that it negated those negatives in a pretty positive way. So, for Filip Zadina, this is a pretty good defensive player, and that's always been the excuse that Wings fans would give in my comment section. Hey, at least the guy is doing well on the boards. At least the guy is doing well defensively. You had yourselves a Jeff Blashill system that really forced him to play his own end, and it worked. He's actually going out there and doing proper habits off the puck, etc., but at the end of the day, this is still a guy you drafted to be a 30-goal scorer consistently at the NHL level. This is still a guy that had top-line potential, 40-goal potential even, at his absolute peak. And I was one of the guys back in 2018 that was like, yeah, this guy could be just that gosh darn good at scoring goals. As Frank Seravalli highlighted, even though he is a great shooter, he sticks to the perimeter a lot. He's going to need to find those more dangerous areas if he wants to go out there and start putting the puck in the back of the net a lot more. And so whether or not the new coach in the Red Wing system is going to be the guy that tells Zadina to do that more or that works with him to figure out the instinctual procedure to identify open ice and cut into those areas, leading to more scoring opportunities, I'm not too sure. You can let me know in the comments all your thoughts about Filip Zadina and whether or not his future will be with the Red Wings if they do just bring in a new coach and Yzerman says, okay, let's see if we can really improve Zadina's game now. Or if you think it would be in the best interest of the Wings to either trade away Zadina's rights or, I don't know, let a team offer sheet the guy, but yeah, I think we're all kind of in the same boat when it comes to expecting any offer sheets happening. It's probably not going to happen. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about Filip Zadina. Where do the Wings go from here? Is there a change of scenery that is absolutely needed here? If NHL executives league-wide are saying that that's the case, then I mean, there's no real reason to believe why they would be wrong now, wouldn't they? But if you still believe in Zadina, you still think, okay, all we gotta do, just put him with a good coach, see what he can do in a top 6 role, play him behind Raymond, Larkin, Bertuzzi, we'll see where he goes from there, then you can let me know in the comments if that is your thought process, but still, just overall, thoughts on Zadina, thoughts on where he is right now comparative to where he was supposed to be when he was drafted in 2018. I'm still kind of shocked to see he hasn't broken out like Andrei Svechnikov did immediately, but that's just my opinion, of course. But I hope you enjoyed this video either way, so did I. Roll 9, and bye.